Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Jacqueline Cortez Salmons. Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays 5. We are here. Oh, let me close that guy. Ah, coming back. Oh, there we are. Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays. This is May 20th, 2020. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we're already in the middle of May. Really getting closer and closer to summer months, which is really exciting. We've had some hot weather here in California, also in Arizona, which I'm a big fan of. So I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about hydration. Super, super critical. I cannot emphasize enough how important hydration is. So we're still in the midst of this COVID crisis. It seems like some states are opening up. People are getting a little stir crazy at home or wanting to do some different activities with our children and so forth, or with our families, our loved ones. Sometimes not with our children, just saying. So with that, it's really important to make sure that you're staying hydrated. And there's plenty of ways to do that, but primarily water, 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 water. I cannot emphasize that more cautiously than anything. Just make sure that you're drinking your water. The reason why I say that is a lot of us will kind of, when I see patients in the office, they're like, well, yeah, I hydrate. I drink some iced tea, caffeinated. I have my coffee every morning, caffeinated. Okay, so caffeine is a diuretic, which makes it great when you need to, urinate and that sort of thing. But oftentimes we want to kind of hang on to some of that water, make sure our actual tissues are getting hydrated. So if you have water retention, caffeine is good for that. If you're kind of sluggish, caffeine can be good for that, although not the most healthful option. But really, water really comes down to it of getting you massively hydrated. We've done like Powerade studies, Gatorade studies, all the different types of electrolyte drinks, even Pedialyte. Something to be really cautious with those types of agents is their sugar content. So the sugar content, what it will actually do is puts a lot of sugar into your intestinal tract, okay, which then pulls water actually from your tissues into the intestinal tract and can lead to actual diarrhea, an actual depletion of your body's overall hydration status. So something to be very aware of, that even though we think we're doing something really great by drinking those electrolytes, a lot of that comes also from sugars. So be cautious in getting one with lower sugar content. Okay, so read those labels, absolutely. Remember that in the grand scheme of things, when we say read labels, read labels, read labels, that's great. But if you're sticking to whole natural foods, there are no labels. There's no label on an apple. There's no label on a carrot, right? So really, if you're having a long list of ingredients that you're having to sort through to see what you're actually taking in, you probably shouldn't be taking it in. Okay, so again, water, that list of ingredients is very, very short because it's water, as opposed to, again, some of these other energy drinks and electrolyte drinks and all this other thing. And it's polysorbate, blah, 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 dye, yakety, yak, yak, yak. And all of those are chemicals that, again, are offsetting the balance of hydration in your body. So really important to keep on top of that. So focus on the water. I know that a lot of us will carry around our flask. If you are anything like me, I carry my flask religiously, but I do not get the water into my system as well as I should. So again, something just kind of, I've had patients set timers, set a little alert on your phone every 2 hours, drink another 8 ounces, drink another 8 ounces. Those can be really helpful tools to have in your tool belt to help you through and get you adequate hydration. Um, how do you figure out how much you should hydrate, right? This is the big thing. Oh, drink 8-ounce glasses. You should drink 32 ounces. You should drink 64 ounces. A really good, quick, and dirty way of assessing it is to take your weight, okay, divide that in half. Okay, so if you're 150 pounds, you divide that in half, that's 75. That's how many ounces you should be drinking. So half your weight in ounces is kind of a good, quick, and dirty way of assessing how much you need. Now, if you're exercising, expending a lot of loss because of sweat, because of breathing really heavily, then definitely increase that water intake for those elements. If you're in the hot, hot sun, again, in Arizona, even if you're in the cold, dry climates, right, up in our northern states, or if you're in the mountains, again, there's a lot of insensible fluid loss just from breathing that thinner air. So more with altitude than with northern states, obviously, but you want to stay on top of that hydration. There's a lot of sun exposure in the snow and that sort of thing. So you want to make sure to stay on top of that hydration, and drinking slow and steady wins the race, right? Rather than just at the end of the night, oops, I forgot, and let me slam back the entire liter. Not so beneficial as it would be if we kind of keep a nice pace throughout the day, which I should probably get on to doing. Again, aside from that, I just wanted to point out a few studies because I always like to put my money where my mouth is and not just kind of babble about it. There's actual research that goes into it. Although I have to say our research is a little bit anemic in this plane. We always say, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. It comes more from a lot of the athletic circles, performance circles, but now we're starting to kind of creep out of the hole from a medical standpoint. My feelings about corporate medicine, a lot of times we're sort of stuck in a culture and we sort of say things and do things because that's the way it's always been said and done, but we don't have a lot of science necessarily to back it up. Or even when we do have the science to back it up, we're very slow to change. We're kind of like old curmudgeons in that respect. But with that said, there are some newer studies. So there's a study out of Michigan State University that states staying properly hydrated helps the kidneys do their job in balancing electrolytes, right? So your body will actually balance your electrolytes for you if you are giving it the proper tools, which is hydration, okay? And it filters waste from the body. Drinking water can also help by lessening congestion and helping the mucus to be coughed out of the body. Okay, so again, during this COVID crisis, this is something really, really critical to understand is that the more you hydrate, the thinner your mucus can become, the less it becomes trapped in your lungs, the less it's sort of sucking those alveoli together, those little tiny air sacs where gas exchange happens. Okay, we need those guys to stay open. If they're all coated in thick, slimy mucus, we can't get that oxygenation into our tissues so that our body can appropriately heal. Okay, so the best way to do that is to drink, 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 drink. That's going to thin out that mucus and allow it to be expelled from our body. As much as we're saying that that's a horrible thing right now, that's actually our body's designed to get rid of viruses, to get rid of bacteria, to get rid of damaged tissue that is our own cellular tissue and debris that has been kind of built up because of the infection itself. So we need to get that out of our bodies, okay? Not behind a mask, particularly if you are at home. Does that make sense? So if you're staying home because you're sick, which you should, you do not need to wear a mask within your household. Get the bacteria out, get the virus out, get the cellular debris and nastiness out, right? How many times have we told our kids not to like snuff and swallow when they have that nasal congestion? We're like, oh my gosh, blow your nose, blow your nose, blow your nose, right? It's because we intrinsically know we need to get that stuff out of our bodies rather than sucking it back in. So certainly when we're sick, don't want to have that mask in front of our face when we're in the privacy of our own homes. Again, with respect to our surroundings, wear that mask when you're outside, but preferably if you are ill, don't rely on that mask to prevent spread of infection. You want to be home to prevent that spread of infection, okay? So coughing it out, sneezing it out, blowing it out, all of those things are very, very important. Okay, getting back to our issue at hand, another study from Harvard states that drinking water is crucial for, are you ready? Regulating body temperature. Okay, so for a lot of us, more mature women, so to speak, when we're having a lot of hot and cold imbalances, water intake actually helps to maintain that. Hi, how are you? And so aside from that, and so it also helps to lubricate our joints. So again, for a lot of us, getting deliveries. Thanks, Jackie. Thank you. It's like Christmas every day here. This is the beauty of live stream. What can I say? It's an active office. So we're lubricating our joints as well. So when we're like kind of creaky and achy, and particularly in the winter months, I really struggle with this because I don't like drinking cold water when I'm already cold. So I tend to dehydrate, I underhydrate, and so as a result, my joints get kind of crickety and achy and things kind of hurt and they're sore. So really hydrating will help through that, okay? So it's going to help to lubricate your joints. It prevents infection. Okay, so again, this is a Harvard study, guys. This isn't just me or my mom telling me good advice. Actually, there are studies that support that hydrating well will help to prevent infection. Remember, even with coronavirus, it sits on our mucous membranes initially, kind of in this fore aspect of our nares, which is our nasal passages, and in our mouths. We're able to rinse it out, okay? We always say in surgery, the solution to pollution is dilution. So dilute it out, get it flushed through. Don't allow it to have a chance to take hold. That's going to be really critical in helping to prevent the onset of that infection. Okay, and then the same is true for gastrointestinal viruses, which tend to be much more prominent in the summer months. So as we're getting into the barbecue season and so forth, hydrating is really going to help us to, push through any viruses or bacteria that we pick up from foods that we're eating or just kind of running around in the dirt and that kind of thing. Make sure it's wet sand, not dry sand, whatever that is. Okay, those of you who live in LA know what I'm talking about. All right. It also delivers the nutrients to our cells. So again, this is a big topic in our practice. We talk a lot about gut health, that I can give you every supplement in the world. You can be eating the best foods on the planet, but if you don't have an intact gut health, you're not going to be able to deliver it into your system appropriately. And that is true also for water. If you're not adequately hydrated, water and hydration are the carrying mechanism by which those nutrients that we're taking in actually get carried to their target tissues. Now, whether that's the brain, the kidneys, the liver, whatever we're focusing on, if it can't get there, it can't help you. Okay, so we need to have that carrying agent. For those of us who do essential oils or who make crafts like bath bombs, we know about carrier agents. Any chemists out there? So very important. Water is our carrying agent for those nutrients for the most part. Exceptions are like fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. Just be impressed for a minute that I remember that from like first year medical school. So just easy. And so with that, water is the carrying agent for the majority of our stuff. Also, it's for proper organ functioning. Again, we're like plants with emotions, right? So when we're sitting there and we're dehydrated, we're kind of like that limp plant that's sitting in the kitchen window and we kind of can't function. And then you water that plant and it's like, oh, I feel so much better, right? So we need a little bit of sunshine. We need a little bit of water. We're really not all that complicated. And then if you tell us we look pretty and bring chocolate, then that's also a win on my planet, like always. So with that, yeah, it's really important for the functioning of our liver, for our kidneys, our brain. Our brain is so much water, so much water. So just important for proper cognitive functioning or brain functioning. It took me like a year and a half in medical school to figure out that cognitive just meant like brain functioning. So anytime you see the word cognitive, just know that they're talking about brain function. It also improves sleep, guys. This has been a huge one in my practice right now with this coronavirus crisis because everybody's at home. We're in lockdown. We're in artificial lighting. We're not getting that appropriate signal to our bodies that it's wake time. It is time to be up and working and going here and going there, running errands and running out on the streets and doing all this stuff. We're not doing that. So now we're kind of like, napping during the day and we're staying up late at night doing TikToks, whatever it is that we're doing. So we're not getting that appropriate sleep wake cycle, which affects many other elements within our bodies. Okay, so critical. There are things that are happening at night when you're supposed to be sleeping that you are virtually unaware of, but are so critical to happen. If we're awake during that time, our body gets all messed up. Okay, and this is why we're cranky and irritable and all the rest of it. Likewise, even Harvard is saying that dehydration helps with mood. Sorry, babe, I'm a little underhydrated sometimes. So we'll just blame that irritability on that underhydration, okay? So really important to stay hydrated because it helps with mood stabilization. Again, this has been another big, big topic in my practice right now with all of the coronavirus and so forth, is that people are very edgy, we're irritable, we've got our spouses underfoot, like living on top of each other when normally we would have that break from each other to go to work. Now we're like 24/7 with our kids. They want to get out. They want to play with friends. We keep telling them no. We're like the no monster all day long. It's agitating, right? It really affects us. So again, just the simple act of hydration is going to be key for you. And then it prevents constipation. And while that sounds like something that nobody ever wants to talk about, but at the end of the day, chronic constipation has been linked to issues, right? It's linked to issues with colon cancer. So no joke, guys. Chronic constipation is something that needs to be addressed with your provider. And again, something that I address multiple times a day here in this practice because it is an ongoing issue. And a lot of times your primary provider is going to tell you, well, just take a laxative, take fiber, I don't know, drink more water. There's actually other things that we can do to kind of help things along and to get you more regular. It comes back down to the fundamentals of gut health. So something I'm happy to help you with here as well. But chronic constipation can be fixed to a degree with that hydration with water. Okay, so again, not caffeinated beverages, not sugar, caloric beverages, water. Okay. And then some other interesting studies that I read, dehydration impairs physical growth and cognitive development in young mice. Okay, so again, as much as we think, well, we're not mice, we're men. That said, they're still mammals. They still have a lot of the same functionality that we do. They have like similar hearts, similar lungs, similar other processes, right? So they're a good kind of microcosm of sort of what goes on in our planets as well. So it's a good place to start and to really recognize that this can affect our kiddos' growth. It can affect their brain, remember cognitive, their brain development. It's really, really critical that we pay attention to how well we're hydrating as a population. Okay. And then again, another study in Europe out of 2007. And actually, I give a lot of credibility to these older studies. I feel like there's a lot going on right now in the scientific world where there's money exchanging hands and there's politicians involved and there's all of this stuff. So you sort of have to look at some of these things with a grain of salt versus things that were done maybe 10, even 5 or 2 years ago. We can sort of have a different focus on it and say, hey, this is maybe some real science. This is really validated, and maybe not as much corruption, or at least we didn't know about it. So, definitely we want to look at some of those older studies as well. So this one out of Europe in 2007 states that better hydration is actually associated with kids making better dietary choices and having a more nutritive caloric intake. Okay, and so that's again really, really important when our kids are reaching for the Takis and the hot Cheetos and all of this other kind of nonsense food. A lot of times, why we're craving those nonsense foods is because we are dehydrated and we are seeking fluids from our foods. Okay, so again, then eat something juicy like grapes, watermelon, any kind of melon, actually, very high water content, apples, even vegetables will be good in those water content depending on the vegetable. So when we're kind of seeking food, it's really because our body is actually seeking water and fluids. So when our kids are better hydrated, again, this study was done with kids. So when kids are better hydrated, they're going to have better caloric intake and less, hopefully, then less likelihood of obesity and all of the issues that go along with obesity. That makes sense. Okay. So with that said, it's just something to keep in mind. Certainly, as we're getting into those hotter months, like I said, it can be difficult to stay up on the hydration. We tend to be outside and we like to imbibe in some cold, frosty beverages that might not be water. So if that's the case, then certainly here at this practice, we also offer IV hydration. We usually do that with some vitamin supplementation. So whether that's vitamin C, it can be B12, B complex. We even have some other things that we can mix together to help you with joint pains and aches and headaches and whatnot. So we definitely have that service available. So something to keep in mind about contacting us if you're finding that you're really getting behind the eight ball with the hydration. My glass I have him here as like a mascot. And so with that hydration, again, when we're getting those summer viruses and we're having a lot of like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, patients who are pregnant, all of this sort of thing, we can really get behind. And then once you get more behind, you get more nauseous, you can't tolerate even more. And so we start to kind of what we call spiral down the drain. So important to kind of jump on that a little more quickly and give us a call if you need to so we can help you out with that. Well, it looks like everybody's pretty quiet in the crowd today, but I'm glad that you could join us. If you have any topics that you would like to discuss, please let me know. Either leave a comment or you can contact me through Instagram, Facebook, or call our office. We'll be happy to talk about it. We'll talk with you soon. We'll see you next week. Also, we have a really cool treat in store for our Field Trip Friday. I think you're going to like it. She's an amazing woman. Make sure that you're subscribing and liking and turning on the notifications. I always forget these things. Turn on the notifications though, because that'll tell you when we're having a new talk or when we've posted a new video. We'll speak with you soon.